Hungary agrees to allow Chinese police to patrol in the country. Agreement raises concern in Europe. In early March 2024, Hungarian Foreign Ministry revealed that it reached an agreement with the China's Communist Party to allow Chinese police to patrol in Hungary alongside Hungarian police officers. The Hungarian Interior Ministry stated that the agreement would increase safety at its popular tourist destinations and large events that may attract Chinese nationals. European officials have expressed concern that Hungary is allowing China to operate within Europe and that China is going to use it to extend its reach across the globe to monitor Chinese citizens' activities and intimidate citizens over unwanted activities in Europe. With the Chinese Communist Party's past record of intimidating its citizens overseas, the European Union has justifiable concern over Hungary's decision. Hungary is partially motivated to make this agreement because it is one of the largest recipients of Chinese foreign investment through the Belt and Road Initiative and other investments. The country, under Prime Minister Viktor Orban, has a desire to keep increasing this Chinese investment. This investment does involve an influx of Chinese citizens to work on the Chinese-funded projects, as well as Hungary being a destination for Chinese tourists. At face value, with so many Chinese citizens in Hungary, the policy of Chinese police in the country could help Chinese citizens have access to their government authorities to provide assistance and settle disputes with locals and local jurisdictions. Such agreements have been reached in Serbia and Italy, though Italy has rescinded its agreement due to the secret Chinese police operations in other countries. And the Chinese police did stay largely confined to these tourist destinations. The issue with Hungary and Chinese justification for this agreement does not hold up, considering that the Chinese have set up police, both public and in secret, in Western countries, and their track record on human rights is a reason for concern for the European Union. The Hungarian authorities agreeing and affirming this Chinese practice of monitoring and controlling its citizens overseas because Hungary is aware of how the Chinese governments have used their police overseas in other countries. The Brookings Institute has evaluated that the use of the Chinese police abroad and their research has demonstrated that Chinese police's primary goal is to control its citizens and are justified by Chinese government public policy. This is due to the Chinese effort being publicly claimed to be part of the United Front work touted by Chinese President Xi Jinping as an effort to connect the Chinese citizens abroad and outside of the immediate control of the Communist Party. The Chinese police typically surveil dissidents in China, but now have used this policy by Xi Jinping has increased the police powers. This decision to establish police stations in the West extends the common practice of the Chinese police in China to now include abroad to increase its ability to monitor Chinese citizens, including dissidents that would normally be outside of their control. The Chinese police presence in a Western country not only allows the Chinese police to surveil, make contacts with its citizens, but also has a chilling effect on its citizens who are now aware of the Chinese police in the West, that they cannot evade the Chinese police or the party even when in the West. The Chinese police, under the guise of a Chinese documentation service station, have used its location in the West not only to intimidate and harass its citizens, but also the Chinese overseas diaspora who are not necessarily citizens of China. This intimidation has included the use of phone calls and personal contact, and the threats to include the CCP prosecutors to threaten to charge Chinese citizens being subjected to a trial if they do not return to China. These actions are not known without the knowledge of the host country, and is a threat to the Chinese citizens in diaspora abroad that China will investigate them and their connections and threaten them with arrest and trial unless they comply to the Chinese policies. So the history of Chinese police activities in the West are well documented, though probably not thoroughly understood to the extent of the Chinese activities, and Hungary, knowing this, has decided to allow the Chinese police to operate within their country. This is concerning to the European Union, which Hungary is a member, as it allows Chinese to operate in both the EU and a NATO country. Hungary is part of the European Schengen zone, so once the Chinese police are in the country, they can operate throughout the Schengen area, since they will not be subject to border controls. The EU tensions with China has been on the rise, and the members of the EU Parliament have stated that China is a rival to the EU and has been performing industrial espionage and dumping practices in the EU to destroy Chinese industrial competitors, and this is in addition to the human rights violations in China. Hungary has a tense relation with the EU authorities in Brussels across many issues, but most publicly with its friendly relations with Russia. This decision by Hungary, with the full knowledge of Chinese activities, will only further increase the schism between Hungary and the European Union. The decision by Viktor Orban to allow the Chinese to operate in Hungary has every right to be criticized by the European Union and NATO. The Chinese record demonstrates that their words cannot be trusted. Orban often bucks the European Union and NATO when he views their decisions as acting contrary to the Hungarian interests. The EU and its member states vocally criticize Hungary, even when Hungary is acting legally and within the rules of the EU, and have withheld funding to try to coerce Hungary into compliance. Has this European approach to Hungary pushed Hungary to seek investment elsewhere when it is being criticized and penalized by its own union? The European leadership may want to consider the consequences of its policies to Hungary, but Hungary should not be so quick to invite the Chinese into their country and Europe for such cynical reasons.